Hello and welcome to the Matt and Phreds Speakeasy podcast. My name is Claire Turner and I run our little family business with my sister, our parents and the wonderful Matt and Phreds team, two of whom are running the podcast show. David Smith Jr. and Ed Gallyot will be chatting to some of the wonderful musicians who play at the club here in Manchester. They'll be discussing musical inspirations, songwriting techniques and hearing a little bit about what makes each of the musicians tick. If you can, please visit the Matt and Phreds website at mattandphreds.com. Phreds is spelt with a PH, and check out our online shop. There's loads of goodies to buy, of which money will go towards helping musicians who have lost all of their gigging income during this COVID-19 lockdown. So, without further ado, over to you, David and Ed. Enjoy the show.
Lovely indeed. Hello and welcome to the Matt and Phreds Speakeasy podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, David Smith Jr., and I am joined, as always, by my part-time lover and full-time friend, Ed Gallyot. How are you today, Ed?
I'm very well, thank you, David. That was extremely kind of you. We're enjoyed by a very exciting guest today, aren't we?
We are indeed. It's the guitar-playing prowess and otherwise musical genius of Stuart McCallum will be joining us soon. But before that, for anybody who's not listened to the show before, how about you do a quick introduction for yourself?
I'm Ed. I'm your friendly neighbourhood sound engineer. I'm one of many talented sound engineers at Matt and Phreds. And why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself, David?
Well, I am David Smith. I am one of the very talented bar staff and bar managers at Matt and Phreds, and normally I'd be pouring you a vodka and coke, but today I am serving you up some lovely sounds instead.
And what are we listening to today, David?
Well, this is our local recommended track for this week's episode. It is The Remedy by a band called Agbeko, and these guys are really something special. This Afrobeat, jazz fusion inspired 11-piece band. Been playing around Manchester now and all around the country for about 3 years. They have really got something incredible live, something very authentic and something very real about everything they do. Very respectful of their roots, but also really carving their own sort of path. So I would recommend giving these guys a listen. They're huge.
11-piece as well. I doubt we'd fit that on the stage at Matt and Phreds with the piano, would we?
We absolutely would not. That is, as they say, that is 22 legs, that is a lot for one band.
So without further ado, I think we'll let this track play out and then we'll say hello to Stuart McCallum.
So here we are then with our guest for today's episode. It's Stuart McCallum. How are you, Stuart?
I'm alright, thanks. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good, thank you.
Not too bad.
Just trapped in isolation, keeping it together.
I'm a little worried that it's kind of all we've got to talk about, you know. So it's just isolation. Is all
Isolation, but musicians are good at isolating. We kind of did that for most of our teenage years, right?
Well, yeah, we all learned how to play guitar in order to try and make friends and pick up girls, right? That's the old stereotype.
Of course, yeah.
It actually just ended up more alternate picking in your bedroom, but. Is there sort of any practice routines that are keeping you together through this period?
Yeah, I mean, I'm working on a new album at the minute, so I've got a few different things on the go. So, got like another solo guitar album that I'm working on, and working with a guy called Richard Spaven. So we're using like Skype and Zoom and stuff like that, so that he's in London and I'm in Manchester, and we're just making music together via those kind of video sharing sites, and then doing stuff with a vocalist in Manchester, and working on some film music with a guy in Hull. So yeah, pretty busy, and yeah, just to try to enjoy myself really, and not leave the house too much.
That is good. Yeah. Welcome to the future, right? That's amazing. Through this technology, you're working with all these different people all over the world.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's I think if nothing else, it's kind of forced us into kind of realising that these kind of, you don't need to be co-present to collaborate, you know, and that you can just do it virtually. You know, and there's limitations to it, but that's okay. You can work around it if you want to get on with stuff.
I mean, sometimes the limitation is almost quite interesting, isn't it? Because you get a file from someone and you have like that first listen with no pressure, and you're on your own. Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm going to start citing stuff here. But Pierre Bourdieu, who's a kind of sociologist, musicologist, he wrote a lot about kind of the constraints and how that influences creativity. So I guess this is like a constraint, isn't it? And it has an influence on the kind of resulting musical output, but just got to go with it, right? Yeah. It's all good. Just make music under whatever circumstances. Stay sane.
If nothing else, this is a musical psychological exercise, if nothing else.
It's just fun times.
Just fun times.
Yeah.
Cool. So how about you introduce us then to what the first song is we're going to be listening to today?
So the first track is called City, and it's a collaboration between me and a singer called JP Cooper and a drummer called Richard Spaven.
So we've seen you play quite a lot at the club, and a lot of the time when you do play, it's very much a jamming and improvising feel. But this track's obviously very precise, very well produced, and we're just wondering, what are the processes? Does something start off like a jam like that and then become something like this, or are these two completely different beasts?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the reason I sent you the 3 tracks that I did is because they're all kind of related to the club. So I've been playing at Matt and Phreds for a very long time. I've got minidiscs of me playing in there in 2001.
Oh Lord.
Yeah. And so it's like been a real integral part of my musical life, and it's really afforded me an amazing opportunity to kind of develop musical ideas and my musical sound, and have a performance setting where that is kind of encouraged and allowed, and it's been really amazing. So the reason I included the JP track is because I don't know if you or your listeners know JP Cooper, but he's actually pretty well known dude. Got a big deal with Island Records probably 5-10 years ago, but he used to come to the club and watch us play, and he was really into our music. So I just, over time, we just kind of talked about doing a collaboration, and that was the track that we kind of ended up collaborating on. It was just a track that he had knocking about, and I went round his house and kind of recorded him singing it and wrote some chords to it, and then sent it down to the drummer Richard in London, who I work with a lot, Richard Spaven, and he produced that album for me, so he's kind of got a much more electronic influence and kind of a much more electronic background, so that's why it sounds the way it does. And yeah, really pleased with that. So it's just a bit, the album cover, it's actually the album title as well, called City. It's got a beautiful panoramic shot of Manchester, and it is blue. Obviously, not being a football fan, didn't realise that might have caused some kind of issues. I've had various
Cutting
people
out 50%
say,
of your local fan base there, man.
yeah, I mean, people have said things like, you know, mate, I really like your music, yeah, but you need to write like City, shit. You know, that kind of thing. But, you know, I'm learning. Life is about learning, right?
It is.
That what you were talking about then with Richard Spaven as well, we'd noticed his work with the likes of Flying Lotus and stuff like that. We noticed as well that there's an electronic influence, and we just wondered whether something like Forte, Boards of Canada was influencing the guitar arpeggios. You're trying to emulate a synthesizer with that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's really it's been a kind of lifelong kind of investigation, I suppose, of like, how does a guitar sit in that kind of music? You know, what is its function? So obviously, coming from a jazz background, you know, instruments tend to take leading roles at specific times, and they have a kind of specific structure and melodic vocabulary to draw on that's very much rooted in the history of the music. Then when you change the aesthetic of the music to something much more electronic, something potentially much more harmonically simple, there's a lot of different... to play in a completely jazz way would be inappropriate. So you have to think about how the guitar is going to function in that music. And that's just a bit of an ongoing journey for me to try and figure that out. This track is from my most recent album, which was called Solitude Part 2, which is a solo guitar album. I've been doing a lot of solo guitar gigs these days, so this is a track called When the Fog Clears.
We were just wondering, like, at the beginning of the writing process, is there a moment where you decide, like, oh, these parts, this is going to be on a track like this, and then maybe another part will be on a more produced track, a more electronic track, or is it very much like coming from different places, starting from different places, completely separate sort of things?
I think, well, I'm currently writing a new acoustic guitar album, so I guess I've got a pretty good idea that is the direction that everything that I'm writing at the moment would go in.
Yeah, so is that how it starts off, and do you say, like, I'm going to make this kind of record?
It does now, yeah. Didn't used to. I think my earlier stuff is very much just me exploring possibilities, and I think what I realised, what I've learned over time is that actually having some kind of sense of what it is you're going to do before you do it makes the whole process just have more focus from the start. And it reduces. I mean, if you think about a composer, like normally, you know, in the traditional classical sense, is that they would they'd write a specific kind of piece, so like a sonata or a concerto, and they'd write for specific instruments. So they've instantly got like a narrow set of goals to work within, I guess.
The framework.
It's already outlined, and I think the thing when you have a laptop and you have a studio in the laptop that's way more powerful than any studio that actually exists in the real world, you know, and an unlimited number of tracks to record, a virtually limitless number of virtual instruments and sounds and effects, and then it's all of a sudden you're just like, well, I'm now in this kind of huge landscape of possibilities, and at every single decision in the process there's like virtually limitless number of decisions, and that can just it can be exciting and it can be adventurous, but it can also just get tiring and a bit kind of boring. So what I've learned is just, now I've got less time because I've got kids and stuff, is just to kind of try and just focus on specific things. So to have a purpose from the start allows me to kind of just direct my creativity in a certain area. So, this is a band that I do called The Breath. It's a band with my writing partner, Raina Connolly. She's a vocalist, amazing singer, lyricist, flautist. This track also features the great John Ellis on piano, the amazing Luke Flowers on drums, and Sam Bickery on bass. This track, when we're talking about the jamming aspect of my Matt and Phreds gigs, the reason I really wanted to include this track was because I think the vocal line was written at Matt and Phreds. I had these chords, and the kind of general vibe of the track culminated from a gig at Matt and Phreds that we recorded.
Well, glad we could help.
Yeah. This is a track it's the title track of our most recent studio album called Let the Cards Fall.
So we just wanted to get a sense of this, because this is with a band, not your solo stuff. So we just wanted to get a sense of how this project even came about. You know, did you meet these guys by chance, or is it something that's been in the works for a while? Like you and Raina, how did you get to working together?
I mean, in terms of like the band setup as a whole. So Luke Flowers, I've played with more than anyone else in my life. You know, hundreds, probably thousands. Well, definitely thousands of gigs all around the world. All sorts of music styles and situations. You know, he's like a real brother to me musically. You know, our musicalities are so entwined because we've just been grown up together. John Ellis, for me, massive hero of mine. You know, kind of leading figure of the Manchester music scene. I think I used to go and watch him when I was really young and just had my mind blown, and it's a real privilege to be working with him. Sam on bass, Sam Bickery, amazing bass player, just really great to have him. He and Luke do a lot of gigs together, so it's just a great connection, kind of rhythm section connection. And then coming to Raina, I think Manchester, she's from the kind of traditional Irish background of music. You know, she's from Northern Ireland and got a very Republican kind of family. So it's such a great history of folk music in her world, and we're kind of met through mutual friends, and there's just certain people that you make music with, or that I've had the experience of making music with, where things just happen. It's just quite natural, it's quite easy. Music just comes out, you know, and Raina's one of those people, and there's only a handful of people like that for me in my musical world. And I think although we've got very different backgrounds, I think we've got quite similar attitude, in that we both like quite a lot of risk in music, and we're like kind of just challenging the boundaries that are set out by genre and by the commercialisation of music. And we've been signed to Peter Gabriel's record label, Real World Records, which is like a really great thing for us. So yeah, we're just we've done 2 albums for them so far, and Raina was she won the BBC Folk Singer of the Year award last year. We were nominated for the Best Act last year, didn't win that. So there's lots of good things happening with that band. We did have a lot of gigs this year. Currently don't have that many. Yeah. But I think the gigs will happen. Gigs happen,
eventually.
don't they? It's what happens to musicians that do gigs. So
Life goes on.
Yeah, so Raina's just had a baby, so in some ways it's quite nice. She's probably just at home enjoying, not, schlepping about the country and Europe doing gigs.
Wonderful. Well, I guess that'll be it for us then. So thank you very much, Stuart, for coming on the show.
Lovely to talk to you.
Genuinely very insightful, a great pleasure. And is there anywhere that people can find you online? Do you just want to run through a couple of your social medias real quick, or if people want to find you, where's the best place to look?
Yeah, I mean Spotify, I guess, is always a good starting point. And then Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the usual places. Just type my name in, it's going to come up.
So that's under Stuart McCallum, and also The Breath is
The Breath, yeah. So it'd be thebreathmusic.com. Breath Instagram is The Breath Music, and Facebook is The Breath Music, I think, or The Breath Band. I can't remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But you'll find it. I mean, and there's all sorts of exciting things going to be happening with that band. So I'm sure you'll catch us on tour soon, or catch me down at Matt and Phreds again every other month on a Wednesday evening. Yeah, looking forward to my next one, whenever that will be.
Yeah, me too.
It's quite a nice moment for me, because I think the Stuart McCallum residency was the first gig I ever went to in Matt and Phreds. It was a wide-eyed 18-year-old student.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, that residency, I actually don't even know when that started, but it used to be twice a month, and that was about that for 5 years, and it was once a month for about 7-8 years. Yeah, it's just madness. It's like amazing. Just feel like such a privilege, to have had so many opportunities to play. It's brilliant.
Well, this has also been amazing, a privilege and brilliant. So thank you very much, Stuart.
Right. All right, guys. Take care, man.
See you in a bit, man. Thanks.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So I'm not going to lie to you there, Ed. I felt a little bit intellectually outclassed with Stuart.
Me too. I mean, it was fantastic though, wasn't it? Listening to all those stories, listening to such an insight into his playing.
Yeah, such a quoteable guy as well. He said such interesting things. And with that, we have reached the end of our show. So if you do like what you're listening to and you want to get in touch and involved, we have our own official Matt and Phreds email address. We're at speakeasy@mattandphreds.com. That's Phreds spelled with a PH. So please do email in, tell us how much you like Stuart, or how much you want to ask any questions to us, or if you want to send us any music that you're listening to while you're isolated. We're looking for that as well, so send whatever you'd like into our email address, and we'll hopefully play you on the show.
And if you like what you've heard, you can find more of the podcast episodes on speakeasy.buzzsprout.com. You can also find us on Spotify, and we're in the process of getting listed on Apple Music, so you will find us on Apple Podcasts too. You can also find us on the Matt and Phreds website at mattandphreds.com/podcast.
And if you do like what you're listening to, please do make sure to tell your friends and share us on all your social medias, because we don't pay for any advertising, do we? We don't have the budget for that.
No.
No. So the only thing we've got is your word of mouth. So any support you can show us is absolutely fantastic. And with that, it's just our thank yous. So
I'd like to thank Claire Turner for the lovely intro that you hear. We'd also like to thank William Mackenzie for his lovely jazz between the tracks.
And of course, we'd like to thank Ag Becco for their track The Remedy at the intro of the show. Do check them out. And of course, a big thank you to Stuart McCallum for putting up with our terrible banter.
And thank you to you for putting up with our terrible banter. I think that's all that's left to say, is that I'm Ed.
And I'm David.
And you've been listening to the Matt and Phreds Speakeasy podcast. See you next time.